Are you planning to travel to Canada? Before you book your flight, there's one important document many travelers overlook: the Canadian Electronic Travel Authorization, better known as the eTA. Many people confuse an eTA with a visitor visa, while others assume everyone needs one. In reality, the rules depend on your nationality and how you plan to travel to Canada. In this video, we'll explain exactly what an eTA is, who needs it, who doesn't, how to apply, and the common mistakes travelers should avoid. Let's get started. What exactly is a Canadian eTA? The Electronic Travel Authorization, or eTA, is a digital travel authorization that is electronically linked to your passport. It is designed for travelers from visa-exempt countries who are flying to Canada. An eTA is not a visitor visa. Instead, it allows eligible travelers to board a flight to Canada. When you arrive, you will still be examined by a Canada Border Services Agency officer, who will decide whether you meet Canada's entry requirements. The application is completed entirely online, and many applicants receive a decision within minutes. However, some applications require additional review, so it is always recommended to apply well before your travel date. Understanding what an eTA is and what it is not is the first step toward a smooth and stress-free trip to Canada. Who needs a Canadian eTA? In general, an electronic travel authorization is required for travelers from visa-exempt countries who are traveling to Canada by air. If you're flying to or transiting through a Canadian airport, you'll usually need an approved eTA before you can board your flight. Countries whose citizens commonly require an eTA include the United Kingdom, France, Germany, Australia, Japan, and many others. However, Canadian citizens and permanent residents do not use an eTA to enter Canada. They must travel using the appropriate Canadian travel documents. Remember, your citizenship, passport, and how you are traveling to Canada determine whether you need an eTA or another travel document. Before booking your trip, always confirm the current entry requirements that apply to your specific situation. Not everyone traveling to Canada needs an electronic travel authorization. If you are from a country that requires a temporary resident visa, you cannot use an eTA instead. You must apply for the appropriate visitor visa before traveling. Travelers entering Canada by land or sea, such as by car, bus, train, or cruise ship, generally do not need an eTA, even if they are from a visa-exempt country. Canadian citizens also do not use an eTA. They must travel with a valid Canadian passport. Likewise, Canadian permanent residents are not eligible for an eTA and must travel with their valid permanent resident card or permanent resident travel document. Knowing whether you need an eTA, a visitor visa, or another travel document before you travel can help prevent delays, denied boarding, and unnecessary stress. So, why should eligible travelers apply for a Canadian eTA? The biggest advantage is convenience. The entire application is completed online, and many travelers receive a decision within minutes. Once approved, your eTA is electronically linked to your passport, so there is no paper document to carry. For eligible travelers, an eTA makes boarding a flight to Canada much simpler and faster. It is designed to streamline the travel process while helping Canadian authorities verify traveler information before arrival. An approved eTA is generally valid for up to 5 years or until your passport expires, whichever comes first. During that time, you can use it for multiple trips to Canada, provided each visit complies with the conditions of your stay. Although an eTA makes travel more convenient, remember that it only authorizes you to travel to Canada. The final decision on whether you may enter the country is always made by a Canada Border Services Agency officer when you arrive. Applying for a Canadian eTA is a simple process that can usually be completed in just a few minutes. Start by visiting the official Government of Canada (eTA) website. You'll need a valid passport, an email address, and a credit or debit card to complete your application. Carefully enter your personal information exactly as it appears in your passport. After submitting your application and paying the processing fee, many applicants receive a decision within minutes by email. However, some applications require additional review, so it's always a good idea to apply well before your travel date. Once your eTA is approved, it is electronically linked to the passport you used during your application. If you renew or replace your passport, you'll need to apply for a new eTA before traveling to Canada. Before you apply for a Canadian eTA, make sure you have everything you need. The most important requirement is a valid passport from an eTA-eligible country. The passport you use during your application must be the same passport you use when traveling to Canada. You'll also need a valid email address because that's where you'll receive updates and your eTA approval. A credit or debit card is required to pay the application fee online. Depending on your situation, you may also need to provide basic travel details or answer questions about your trip. When completing the application, make sure every detail matches your passport exactly. Even a small mistake such as entering the wrong passport number or misspelling your name can delay your application or require you to submit a new one. Finally, remember that if you renew or replace your passport after receiving your eTA, you'll need to apply for a new eTA before traveling to Canada. Preparing the correct documents in advance will make the application process much smoother and help you avoid unnecessary delays. Before you apply, it's important to understand the cost, validity, and processing time for a Canadian eTA. The eTA application fee is $7 per person and must be paid online using a credit or debit card. This fee is non-refundable, even if your application is refused or you decide not to travel. Once approved, an eTA is generally valid for up to 5 years or until the passport used for your application expires, whichever comes first. During that period, you can usually use the same eTA for multiple trips to Canada, provided each visit complies with Canada's entry requirements. Many applications are approved within minutes. However, some may require additional review, which can take longer. That's why it's always recommended to apply several days or even weeks before your planned departure. Finally, remember that your eTA is electronically linked to your passport. If you obtain a new passport, you'll need to apply for a new eTA before traveling. Planning ahead will help ensure your journey to Canada starts without unnecessary delays. Once you've submitted your eTA application, the next step is to wait for a decision. Many applicants receive an email within minutes confirming that their eTA has been approved. However, not every application is processed immediately. Some require additional review, and you may be asked to provide more information or supporting documents before a final decision is made. If your eTA is approved, it is electronically linked to the passport you used during your application. You won't receive a sticker or paper document, so it's important to keep the approval email for your records. If you renew or replace your passport after receiving your eTA, remember that your existing authorization will no longer be valid. You'll need to submit a new eTA application using your new passport before traveling. Most importantly, an approved eTA allows you to travel to Canada, but it does not guarantee entry. The final decision is always made by a Canada Border Services Agency officer when you arrive at the Canadian border. Receiving an approved eTA is an important step, but your journey isn't over yet. When you arrive in Canada, you'll be examined by a Canada Border Services Agency, or CBSA, officer. The officer will verify your identity, review your travel documents, and may ask you a few questions about your trip. Be prepared to explain the purpose of your visit, where you'll be staying, how long you plan to remain in Canada, and how you'll support yourself during your stay. Remember, an approved ETA allows you to travel to Canada, but it does not guarantee entry. The final decision is always made by the border officer after assessing whether you meet Canada's entry requirements. Being well prepared can help make your arrival in Canada smooth and stress-free. Before you board your flight to Canada, take a few minutes to make sure you're fully prepared. Start by checking that your passport is valid for your entire trip and that your approved ETA is linked to the same passport you'll be traveling with. Review Canada's entry requirements and keep important documents easily accessible. This may include your return or onward ticket, accommodation details, travel itinerary, and any documents that support the purpose of your visit. Although travel medical insurance isn't required for most ETA travelers, it's highly recommended. Unexpected medical emergencies or travel disruptions can be expensive, and insurance can provide valuable peace of mind. Plan to arrive at the airport early, especially during busy travel seasons, and be ready to answer questions from border officials honestly and confidently. A little preparation before you travel can help make your arrival in Canada faster, smoother, and far less stressful. Once you've entered Canada, it's important to follow the conditions of your stay. An approved ETA allows you to visit Canada temporarily, but it does not give you permission to work or study unless you have the proper authorization. Always respect the length of stay authorized by the border officer and make sure you leave Canada before your authorized stay expires, unless you've received approval to extend it. While you're in Canada, obey all federal, provincial, and local laws and keep copies of your important travel documents in a safe place. If your plans change and you wish to work, study, or remain in Canada longer, don't assume your ETA is enough. You may need to apply for the appropriate permit or status before taking any further steps. Following the rules during your visit not only helps you enjoy your stay, but can also support future travel to Canada. Your journey doesn't end when you leave Canada. It's a good idea to keep a copy of your passport information, your ETA approval email, and any important travel records for future reference. Remember that an ETA is generally valid for up to 5 years or until your passport expires, whichever comes first. If you receive a new passport, you'll need to apply for a new ETA before traveling to Canada again. Travel requirements can change over time, so before planning your next trip, always check the latest information on the official Government of Canada website. Staying informed helps you avoid surprises, keeps your future travel plans on track, and ensures you're always prepared before you board your next flight to Canada. Whether it's your first visit or your fifth, taking a few minutes to review the latest requirements can make every trip smoother and more enjoyable. Let's finish by answering some of the most common questions travelers ask about Canada's electronic travel authorization. Can an ETA guarantee entry into Canada? No. An approved ETA only allows you to travel to a Canadian airport. The final decision on your admission is always made by a Canada Border Services Agency officer when you arrive. Can I work or study with an ETA? Not by itself. If you plan to work or study in Canada, you'll generally need the appropriate work permit or study permit, depending on your situation. What happens if I get a new passport? Because your ETA is electronically linked to the passport you use during your application, you'll need to apply for a new ETA before traveling with a new passport. Where should I apply for an ETA? Always use the official Government of Canada website to avoid unnecessary fees or fraudulent websites. Understanding these basic rules can help you avoid common mistakes and travel to Canada with greater confidence. Thank you for watching our guide to Canada's electronic travel authorization. We hope this video has helped you better understand who needs an ETA, how to apply, what to expect when traveling, and how to prepare for a smooth journey to Canada. If you're planning a trip, Remember to always check the latest requirements on the official Government of Canada website before you travel, as immigration and travel policies can change over time. For more in-depth guides on Canadian immigration, visas, work permits, study permits, and travel requirements, visit 101legalways.com. You'll find detailed articles designed to help you make informed decisions every step of the way. If you enjoyed this video, please like, subscribe, and share it with your friends, family, and anyone planning to visit Canada. We'd also love to hear from you. Have you already traveled to Canada using an eTA, or are you planning your first trip? Share your experience or questions in the comments below. Thank you again for watching. Travel safely, and we'll see you in our next Canadian legal and immigration education video.